All right, what's good, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Live Wire Sports Media. So it seems that Carolyn Peck has walked back her comments, which she made a couple of days ago about the Indiana Fever, a threat without Caitlin Clark. And she went on a rant to talk about her conversation with Stephanie White, saying that the Indiana Fever has a bunch of weapons, which they do, but still inconsistency still plays this team, as we seen last night. Now, I clipped the video from Art Nation, who does a pretty good job of looking into the logistics of certain conversations when it comes down to media and certain attributes. Now, if you haven't followed him, please do follow him. A real good guy, does a really good job. So I'm gonna play this clip before I get into her walk back comments. Says ESPN would be a lot more dangerous without Carolyn Peck. Zing! How the dumb that people employed that shamelessly poop on the sport's most popular player at a pivotal time for the WNBA's growth. Carolyn Peck, she won a championship at Purdue in the NCAA. I remember that great team. I think it was 99. She coached in the WNBA for a few years, moderately successful. So listen, she's a good basketball coach. And she said that Stephanie White is very excited about energy and enthusiasm the team's playing defense with. So she spoke to Stephanie, because she did say that. She said, Stephanie White's excited about the way the team's playing.
Boston. I talked to Stephanie White before the game. She said in year one, Aaliyah Boston was back to the basket.
Okay, so her analysis, Carolyn Peck's analysis, is coming from a conversation with Stephanie White, okay? So we have to remember that. A lot of people are going to let that fly over their head. They didn't catch that because it's you miss things sometimes. It just is. You miss things. The things Carolyn Peck is saying are coming from a conversation she had with Stephanie White, okay? So now, let's start over. We slow walked it, okay? We took the scenic route. Now let's walk straight down Main Street. I think Indiana is even more dangerous when Caitlin Clark doesn't play. This is colored by her conversation with Stephanie White. I know y'all not gonna like that. Some of you will. But I think after sitting down with Stephanie White left her with the impression that Indiana is even more dangerous when Caitlin Clark doesn't play. And listen, Clarkies might not like this, and a lot of people say, oh, you're stirring up trouble again. Listen, man, I'm just an active listener, I'm from DC, man. Dudes talk slick all the time. You gotta have your ear on a swivel, man. Whoa, what you just say, guys? Okay?
Think that Indiana is even more dangerous when Caitlin doesn't play because she's a ball dominant guard. The ball's in her hands a lot, so you know what you need to try to take away.
Does that sound like some of the things that Stephanie White has an issue with in terms of Caitlin Clark's games in regards to the skill set that Caitlin Clark has that Stephanie White wants to file down, wants to blunt Caitlin Clark being so ball dominant, we're going to play her off ball sometimes. Does this sound like someone who's had a conversation with Stephanie White? It is basically parroting the sentiments. Maybe not exactly word for word, but it's parroting the sentiments of Stephanie White.
wants to be the focal point in the offense. Kelsey Mitchell and Leah Boston. And she wants Caitlin to bring the ball up and run to the corner. That's what Stephanie White wants. Okay? All right? She showed us that in the limited games that Caitlin played. She showed us that. She's not a fan of Caitlin experience. Okay? Even though she
All right, so you heard what Ock Nation had to say about Carolyn Peck's conversation with Stephanie White and her desire to guess unquote unquote want Kelsey Mitchell to be the primary ball handler. But we have seen games where they had lost with Caitlin. I've seen games they had lost without Caitlin. And the games they won with Caitlin was against good teams, except for the last couple. But you got to think about this. If you watched the game last night, you had watched the game against the Sparks previously, you watched the game against the Connecticut Sun. This team still has issues moving the ball. They still have issues scoring the ball. You kept Kelsey Mitchell out the game for a little bit. You kept Sophie Cunningham out the game for a little bit. This game was to have. You could have went on a 4 game winning streak. This team is not going to win a championship without Caitlin Clark. So we could just dispute that. Can they be better? Yeah, they're going to be better. But we all know that this team does not move without Caitlin Clark. I don't care how you want to run it through Boston. I don't care how you want to run it through Mitchell. Without Caitlin Clark, this team doesn't go anywhere. You can make them the focal point all you want. But guess what? It's going to lead to one or two things. You either get fired at the end of the season or you adapt and allow Caitlin Clark to be. Now, I think Eric McDonald is a plus for this team because without her on this team would have been losing all of these games. I think Eric McDonald provides something that this team was lacking in areas. So I think the most of the benefit of this team playing better is because of Eric McDonald. It's not because of Boston playing out her mind or Mitchell playing out her mind, because Eric McDonald was able to allow them to play a little bit better. Because if you didn't have Eric McDonald and you relied on Sid Carlson to start, you know how that turned out. Anyway, so moving forward too, now looks like Carolyn Peck walked back her comments again. You know what I'm saying? See, this is the thing. People come out and say stuff, and then once they get heat, you know, pushback, then they come out and say, "Oh, well, I didn't say this. I didn't say that." So let's look what she has said. Carolyn Peck today, this today now. First one was an hour ago. It said, as a coach, if you have ever prepared a scouting report, scout the fever with or without Caitlin. What do you have to take away in both scenarios? There's a difference. One is not easier than the other, just different. There is a lot of talent on that team. Okay, let's play with the first comment she said. When you scouting for Caitlin Clark, we already know. Make her go a certain way, pick her up 94 feet, get the ball out of her hand as quick as possible. Don't let her pull up for top of the key. But without Caitlin Clark, we already seen that Natasha Howard, yes, she had some good games, but she's still inconsistent. She turns the ball over. She doesn't handle passes well. She's inconsistent under the basket. Aaliyah Boston has played. I have to give Aaliyah Boston a lot of credit because she has played more aggressively down the post, but she doesn't get enough opportunities. If Caitlin Clark was there, she would have got so many opportunities down low. Yeah, she had to come and get it. And then the thing about it, the referees get picks up call her for fouls. So you got to think about that too, in a sense. You know what I'm saying? Because the fact of the matter is that Caitlin Clark makes their life easier, even for Kelsey Mitchell. Even though when she's driving with her head down, she gets inconsistent. She forces shots. Yeah, they have been passing to the open shots, but the only two thing is, if you look at the game last night, how they was like making sure Aaron McDonald didn't get going, downhill and getting wide open shots. Yeah, Kelsey them had the game was close from end to end, but the opportunities for Lexi and Sophie wasn't there. They had to focus elsewhere. And then you playing against a team that has a lot of size. So the Indiana Fever, even though they won a couple of games, but if Boston is not on the floor and she's in foul trouble, this team will suffer dramatically in scoring. Now, let's look at Carolyn's second comment. She said, I did not say Caitlin is not valuable. She's a great player. For those who only see Caitlin, I just was complimenting the rest of the team. The Fever had several weapons. Yes, they lost last night. They had lost games with her. Respect to the whole Indiana Fever team. All right, so let's dissect that. Now, she said the Indiana Fever team was a threat without Caitlin Clark. So, how much of a threat are they without Caitlin Clark? Can this team without Caitlin Clark beat New York? No. Can they go and beat Minnesota again? I don't think so. Can they? They already lost against the Aces. You know what I'm saying? Can they beat Seattle without them? Without her? Can they beat Phoenix without her? These are the questions that you have to have, because the fact of the matter is that this team got to still, even though they're learning how to play without her, they still got to learn how to play with her, and that's the thing about it. This team shows a lot of inconsistency. Excuse me. This team shows a lot of inconsistencies, a whole lot across the board. Now, I think Kellen Peck should have clarified her comments the first time around and say, "Hey, this team is a threat, but they'll be a better threat with Caitlin Clark. They're playing great. All she just said, the Fever is playing great basketball right now without Caitlin Clark. And once Caitlin Clark come back, I think this team will be a major threat." That's how she should have said it, instead of saying, "Oh well, this team is a threat without Caitlin Clark," because she knew that she was going to get pushed back. She knew she was going to get this kind of backlash. So to me, is that she just digged herself in the hole, because we already know once you post something and say something, everybody's going to grab a hold to it and they're going to run with it. Now, for her comments with Stephanie White, I don't think so much Stephanie White wants to get her off ball, like just constantly just keep her off ball, like Christy Sides did. I think the off ball thing is so much overblown to it's utterly ridiculous. You got to think about this. If anybody knows basketball, everybody has played basketball, everybody has seen basketball, coached basketball. Let's go back for a minute, because I'm gonna wrap this up real quick. The great Michael Jordan, when he came into the league, he was a ball dominant guard, scored all the time. But guess what that did? It didn't get him nowhere. Kept getting him put out the playoffs. Yeah, he had highlight games, scoring games, but his team could not get over the hump. So guess what they did? They brought in pieces, they changed coach, then they made him a off-ball person as well. If y'all sit here and say that Michael Jordan was an off-ball person, go back and look at a lot of Bulls games, because I'm a diehard Chicago Bull fan and I watch these games. Even with Kobe Bryant too. You had Pippen bringing the ball up some. You had Jordan play off ball. When he got the ball, he was able to do his thing. He made passes to his teammates, help his teammates get better, because he was the focal point. He was the gravity of the team. You had B.J. Armstrong was the point guard at one time. You had John Paxson as the point guard one time. They ran a triangle offense. So that was able to free up Michael Jordan in certain areas of the court to do his damage. So why you think that not having Caitlin Clark on ball all the time and have an off ball The only thing is issue she doesn't get the ball back. That's the only issue with the off ball situation because Kelsey Mitchell don't get the ball back to her, especially when she's really open. See, if they was to get the ball back to her when she really open, she could really operate the way she needs to. That's why you have to have players with high IQ to be able to understand we got a person that commands so much gravity on the court. So, and then Caitlin, she has to move without the ball. That's what great players do. She has to constantly move without the ball. I think her standing there and everybody looking at it say, "Oh, well, they got her off ball to stand in the corner." No, she has to move out of that movement, not sitting there waiting for the ball to come back. Move, cut, run, get open. That's what all the great players do, and I do believe Caitlin will understand that and do and benefit from that. Moving without the basketball. That's I think her moving without the basketball is going to benefit her. I don't think that just having her off ball and just say, "Oh, they put her in a corner." No, I don't believe that at all. I think that they want her off ball to free her up so she won't be she commands so much. So what I think is going to happen is that excuse me, once Caitlin Clark starts moving without the basketball a lot more and free herself up like a Steph Curry does, Steph Curry plays off ball a whole lot. This is a prime example of that. Once she start moving without the basketball a whole lot more, then she's able to get them quick shots from three. Then she's able to do certain things, dribble. She already could dribble to the basket. She already could do all that stuff. I think a whole lot of other things needs to play in this offense. But the one thing that this team needs to do is learn how to get the ball back to her. That's the biggest issue I see with this team is that they don't know how to get the ball back to her. And then they try to get their own shot. So she's standing there waiting to get the ball back and they don't see her. Just like they was passing the last couple of games against Minnesota and the Aces, and they was getting the ball, kicking the ball out to Lexi and Sophie and all of them. That's how they need to do. If they not trying to take on three people down below and forcing up a shot, that's dumb. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not that dominant of a scorer. So that's my analogy from it. Y'all like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about it. Carolyn Peck, hey, we knew it was coming, so there it is. So like, comment, subscribe. Until the next episode, Live Wire Sports Media. You know what it is. If you don't know, now you know.
Hey, so amazing. You see how they playing? Live Wire, it's all about sports and entertainment. You don't want to miss it, so official like you never seen. Keep it going till the whistle blowing from the referee. Everything from highlights and stats. You know that we gotta run it back, whether on the field or the court. You know that this is where it's at. Subscribe, no delaying. This is Live Wire, sports and entertainment.